Welcome to the Strategic Veteran, where we chart the course from service to civilian triumph. I'm Adam Peters, a veteran, entrepreneur, and your fellow navigator in the quest for a life of impact and fulfillment. My mission is simple: to empower you with the tools and stories that turn challenge into opportunity. Having walked the path from active duty to where I stand now, I understand the search for purpose that comes with hanging up the uniform. It's a path I've walked, with its trials, its tribulations, and its victories, and it's a journey we're on together. This podcast is more than just conversation. It's a beacon for those seeking to redefine our missions through entrepreneurship. It's about igniting the entrepreneurial spirit that lives within us, the spirit that compels us to create, lead, and make our mark on the world. Here we connect with veterans who have built businesses, sparked change, and found their purpose in the marketplace of ideas. They're not just surviving, they're thriving. They've transformed their service into startups, their experiences into enterprises, and they're proof that you can too. So whether you're scribbling business plans on napkins or stepping into the arena of innovation, remember, you're not alone. You're in good company. So let's explore these stories of transformation and take the first steps together on our path to purpose. Let's begin. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Strategic Veteran. I'm your host, Adam Peters, and today we have a truly inspiring guest joining us, Lawson Latimer. Lawson served 6 years in the U.S. Navy, separating as a second-class petty officer, or an E5. His journey began with a SWCC contract, and after overcoming significant challenges, he transitioned to a Naval air crewman. Inspired by a deep desire to serve his country, Lawson's military career marked by moments of profound self-discovery and resilience. One of his defining moments came during his SWCC training, where he learned the importance of a no-quit attitude. This mindset has profoundly shaped his post-military life. Today, Lawson is venturing into the world of entrepreneurship, driven by the support and inspiration of his wife, Kaylee. Together, they're building a business that brings people's ideas to life through laser engraving. Lawson's journey is a testament to the power of perseverance, self-belief, and the importance of pursuing one's dreams. Join us as we explore Lawson's story, exploring his military service, the pivotal moments that defined his path, and his mission to inspire others through his entrepreneurial endeavors. Let's warmly welcome Lawson Latimer, a true embodiment of what it means to be a strategic veteran. Lawson, brother, man, I'm so excited to have you here on a early Saturday morning, man. I've been excited for this one for a long time as we've been working together in your transition. So welcome to the show, man, and thanks for being here.
Well, I appreciate it. That was a hell of an intro, man.
Yeah, dude. So let's maximize our time here, man. Let's jump right in. Let's start with talk about your early life, where you grew up, and what inspired you to join the Navy.
Cool. So I grew up in Denham Springs, Louisiana. It's a small town right outside of Baton Rouge. And I'm not like a lot of normal veterans. I actually had a great childhood. You know, I had great parents, good brothers and sisters. And then I just had this urge to, you know, this country allowed me to grow up like out in the woods. I'm free, you know, and I wanted to give back to my country, as cliche and as corny as that sounds. You know, I really did want to give back to my country doing that. And I wanted to join the Army for a long time. Then I had one of my buddies put me on to what a SWCC was, and I was like, that is super cool. You know, I grew up on boats. I grew up shooting guns. Like, I want to just combine them both, and let's do that. And obviously that didn't work out, but I'm sure we'll get more into that here shortly.
Yeah, man. So what actually is SWCC? So I'm not familiar with it. I mean, I know kind of it. I've heard the term thrown around before, but what is the nature of SWCC? What do they actually do?
So it's a special warfare combatant craft crewman. So I'm not a SWCC, so I don't want to put out I don't want to be, you know, putting out wrong information, but to my knowledge, they work on smaller crafts, and they work a lot, special forces, you know, kind of doing that tip of the spear way out there sort of thing.
So it's like Secret Squirrel boat drivers.
Yeah, pretty much.
Perfect.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's cool. So
they got big guns on there too, and all of that kind of cool stuff.
So SWCC, that was what drew you to the Navy and kind of changed your opinion on going to the Army, because you had a buddy that was going into SWCC, or what was it?
No, he wasn't even going into SWCC. He was just like, I was like, dude, I want to be an Army Ranger. That's like I mean, you could ask my parents from the time I could talk. I was like, I want to be a soldier. I want to be a soldier. And he was like, you should check this out. And then I looked into it, and there's one specific video of it's Team 22 down in Mississippi. They're doing like this river operation. They got, dual M240s on the side of the boat. They're freaking ripping through the river, just laying waste to everything. I'm like, yep, you convinced me. That's the one.
What was the movie that they did? I thought it was a pretty good movie. It ended up being like a recruiting video for the Navy about SEALs and a team, and it's got some. What's that?
Act of Valor.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, so did that have
22 down there?
Okay, so I don't know if when that movie came out, but is it fair to say that maybe that might have influenced your decision to go SWCC?
Yeah, it was funny though, because I didn't even know what SWCC was. I was just like, I want to be the SEAL that's on the boats. I want to be, I didn't know. I just thought everyone was SEALs. I didn't know the difference, but they work hand in hand together. So it's kind of, go through the same, I won't say the same training, but you're paired up with SEALs for a long period of time. Then you transition into off like BUDS for SEALs and then BCS for SWCC.
For sure. So you grew up on boats. That's what led you to sign the SWCC contract. And why didn't that work out, man? Like, what happened there?
So I just take you. So from boot camp, then you go to BUDS Prep. And BUDS Prep is this 8-week program that kind of gets you prepared for what's to come.
Let's just be honest. They smoked the dog shit out of you for 8 weeks.
Yeah, right. And so when I went through, it was in Illinois. Basically, it was a base that was right next to the base you went to boot camp on, and they were like, okay, this is BUDS Prep. Now I think it's in California, and they really just smoke the hell out of you. Then you got to go in a bow and all that other stuff. But so I went to BUDS Prep. I get hurt, or I get stress fractures in my feet. So then I get rolled 2 classes. So I started out in class 103. Then I get rolled 2 classes. So now I'm in Illinois for, 24 weeks. Then I finally make it out there. Go to bow, which bow is originally supposed to be 4 weeks of basic orientation, which is, again, you're just getting, the hell beat out of you for 4 weeks. But you're learning how to do hawser line. You're learning how to run boat. You're learning how to do all these things. But my bow was 6 weeks because we had Christmas in the middle. So we go 6 weeks. Then BCS starts. It's one day, right? We're going. And I kind of go in there with just this, I don't give a shit attitude, and you almost have to have that attitude in there. Like, I didn't clean my room because I knew I was going to fail. I'd rather just get my sleep. I didn't prepare my uniforms. Actually, I did. You know what an IP is? I'm sure you do. Like the little strings on your uniform where you have to pull it out.
Sure. Not really. It's been, dude, I've been out at like over a decade now. So
yeah. Well, they're so nitpicky. Like, it's kind of like, you're not going to pass.
You're set up for failure. It doesn't matter how tight your shit is. They're just going to punish you.
Yeah. So I thought I'd be smart, and every seam of my uniform I super glued so they couldn't pick it out. And that was I had the worst rash, like going up my body where my uniform's like buttoned and all over. I was like, damn, that was a mistake, And I actually knocked my front tooth out on the first day. It was a fake tooth. I had a fake tooth. It was this one right here. I'd had a fake tooth, and then when I went to do a burpee, and I kind of like hit my face a little bit. And then we went to jump into the bay, knocked my tooth out. So I just went through 5 weeks of BCS without a tooth. But
that's awesome.
Yeah. You got to do what you got to do.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, getting to the point of when I actually quit, it was 5 weeks in, and the program, the first phase BCS is 8 weeks, I believe. And the 5th week is what they call the tour, which is basically SWCC's version of Hell Week. I'm sure everyone knows what Hell Week is. Right? So it's SWCC's version of Hell Week. So on the first night of the tour is when I dropped. And then from there, you have to get put into a suicide room, because it has been in the past when people would drop from Hell Week or something, they'd go commit suicide because you're having all these different thoughts about yourself, right? Um, so you get put in a suicide room for 24 hours. And then from there, you get transferred over to the dry side base, and they just give you a list of jobs, and they're like, okay, pick, and we'll see if we can get you that. So I picked air crew. Then I went down to Pensacola to the water survival school. Then from there, went up to Norfolk and flew on the 53s for the last 3.5 years.
Nice, man. So at SWCC, is it kind of like what you see from all of, buds and whatnot, where they follow you around with a bell and they encourage you to quit and get inside your head? I assume it's probably a lot of the training is the same.
Yeah. So in Bow, we're the SEAL and SWCC are together, and then once Bow is over, SEAL goes to first phase, SWCC goes to BCS, and the really shittier part. I don't know. Can I cuss on here?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I'm
of
sure your
course.
guys
Yeah.
have, but
Yeah.
the
Be
shittier
yourself,
part.
man.
Yeah. So the shittier part about BCS is, there's our class started with like 54 people, and there's 10 instructors. Now, SEAL class starts with 180 people, and there's 10 instructors. So it's a lot more. There's one instructor to 3 students versus one instructor to 12 students, right? And I think by the time I quit our class, we went into the tour with 13 people remaining, and then only 3 people made it through the tour. So, yeah, it's a pretty cutthroat. It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but why did you quit?
So, oh, you're not gonna like this answer, but I was just being a little bitch, honestly. I was cold. I was tired. It was 50 degrees outside. I was standing under a cold shower in my underwear with 12 other dudes. I was just like, fuck this, right? I don't want to do this, which, I wanted to do it, but in that moment, I just had a moment of weakness, and I, I let that consume my mind. It was funny. I had made up the decision to quit about an hour and a half before I actually quit because I was convincing myself that it was okay to do what I was about to do. And I'm getting my ass beat for an hour and a half. I'm like, I can make this stop right now, but I'm gonna keep pushing so I can convince myself, no, it's okay. Like, you can go be warm. You can go get in some warm clothes. You go get in that warm classroom, and the instructors will be nice to you, and all these different things. And I just had a moment of weakness, and I let it consume my whole mindset.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not that I have an issue with why you quit or whatever, right? Because at the time, you and I have worked together, so let's get that out of the way. Like I've counseled you through your transition, and we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. So I have an insight into kind of what you've been going through and all of that. I've been working with you to change that mindset and all of that, but back then you weren't equipped with some of the things that I've given you to be able to handle stuff like that, right? Like you're just kind of left to your own devices and have to figure it out. So I'm sure hindsight's 2020. Looking back, you're like, I let myself get punished for an extra hour and a half. If I would have just adopted a mindset where if I just make it the next 15 minutes, you might have been SWCC, at the end of the day, right? Like you had made the decision to quit and then punished yourself for another hour and a half later and then ended up quitting. And I'm sure, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure that hangs with you, huh?
Yeah. Oh, every day. There's literally not a day that goes by that I don't think about what. It's not necessarily that I want to be a SWCC. It's just I want to prove to myself that I can do that. I can make it through that.
I can do something hard and conquer, my own mind, right? Dude. And, thank you for sharing that, because I think it's important, and it's important that we can admit to ourselves, that we weren't equipped with the tools we needed to do something hard at a point in our life. And we can reflect on that. We can look back and say, I'm about 100% certain I could have done this if I would have had these tools, right? So that's awesome, man. So you go become a naval air crewman, and is that just? I assume were you on the boat like launching airplanes, or were you on an actual airplane as like a loadmaster type crew member? Like, what is air crew in the Navy?
Yeah, so there's different platforms that you can fly on. I was actually on helicopters,
Even
which
even
were
cooler, even
yeah,
cooler.
which were also land based. So I spent 6 years in the Navy. Some people are not going to like this, but I spent 6 years in the Navy, and I never spent more than 24 hours on a boat.
That's
Um,
pretty impressive because I've talked
yeah,
to a
I
lot of
know, I
Navy
know.
people on this show, and
Yeah,
the common overarching theme with most people from the Navy is they get so sick of doing their time on a boat that they just want a dry side assignment, and they never end up getting it, and they're just so bitter about it. Is that really common in the Navy?
dude, boats suck. I've picked up many passengers. Like I've been on a boat before. I've never stayed overnight or anything, but we'll go land somewhere. We'll go pick people up, and you can just see it all over their face. They're just not. I'm not going to speak for them, but it just seems like they're not happy. They just seem. I mean, you're on a floating prison in the middle of the freaking ocean, right? Like you can't go anywhere. You can't have a beer if you want to have a beer. You can't then you run out of cigarettes or something, then everyone's pissed off. So, it's just, um, yeah, I'm extremely blessed that I didn't, have to spend time on a boat.
Yeah, that's my whole reason for just nicks in the Navy is because I'm a big dude and I ain't gonna fit so well as an enlisted dude on those beds in a ship. What are they like 4 or 5 high? They're stacked on top of each other.
I think they're 5 high or
That's ridiculous, dude. No
yeah, four or
way.
five.
Because it'd be my luck. I'd be on like the fifth one. Right.
Yeah.
So now
And
I
you
got
have
to
to
climb
crawl
up
over
there and I got to
everybody.
squeeze myself into this thing that's not long enough to accommodate me and probably not wide enough, and I'm a side sleeper, right? So there's no way I'm sleeping on my side because I'm going to hit the roof with my shoulder. So no, that's cool, man. So what were you doing on the helicopters? You just part of the crew, like as a gunner, or and I guess we would have called those crew chiefs in the Army.
Yeah, so the difference in crew chiefs in the Navy is you have to like earn that title. So you start as what you call an AQM, which is an air crewman qualified and model, which is basically you can get on the aircraft and you can not die. Basically, it's just
You could
like a
just be
very
present.
basic, super basic qualification. Then you get what's called a buck, which is a basic utility crew chief. Then you get UC, which is utility crew chief, which is like the overseer of everything from the cockpit backwards is your ship. So I got UC, and basically what we did was cargo, airborne mine countermeasures. So we had a bunch of different stuff that we could try and find mines in the water with. Lo and behold, there hadn't been a mine found since Vietnam, but we're still out there doing it.
Got to keep
But
those skills sharp.
yeah, exactly. And then like troop transport, any heavy lift operation because of the hell. I don't know if you've seen a 53, but they're
Oh yeah, I've
huge.
been on a 53.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah. They're pretty
that's
cool
what we're
birds,
doing.
man. So our air crew, like what your job was, were you turning wrenches too?
So we were plane captains, which that qual means a few different things. Basically, I can like service. Uh, so if like I need to fill up oil on something or whatever, I can service that up. But I'm not allowed to turn wrenches on anything.
Okay, so that's a big difference between the Navy air crew and crew chiefs in the Army because crew chiefs, I at one point wanted when I got told that I'll never fly helicopters because I don't qualify for RPK or any kind of refractive surgery. I was like, man, I could go be a crew chief, and then I found out you got to pay a bunch of dues because it would have been cool to be on a minigun in the door of a Blackhawk or something, right? Uh, and then I found out they have to turn wrenches too, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I don't want to be a mechanic at all. Hindsight's 2020 because I probably could have avoided a lot of pain when I got out by just going and getting like a General Dynamics contract to go turn wrenches on a Blackhawk for over $100,000 a year. But that's not how it shook out, and I'd much rather be doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky because dude, I'm so not mechanically inclined. I'm like I'll have to sit there and look at something for hours on end to just try and figure out what to do. As a kid, I didn't turn wrenches very much. I was kind of a more sports oriented. I didn't really learn how to do any of that stuff. So whenever they They hand me something like, "Go fix this." I'm like, "Y'all do not want me up there trying to fix
Yeah,
it. I will break everything up there."
I'm gonna
You know?
bring it back in worse shape than you gave it to me for sure. Let's talk about how your challenges in SWCC influenced your approach to being a naval air crewman.
Oh, that's good. That's real good. I have a lot to say about that. So when you quit and you go to Pensacola as an air crewman, I can almost promise you the first thing that somebody's going to ask you is, they call them buds duds. Are you a buds dud? Right? Did you not make it through? And the first couple times it bothers you a little bit. I think it bothered me. Like, don't call me that, right? But
And
people are
I can feel that because to me it's like, I don't like, why are you calling me a buds dud? Because I had the balls to go try it. And 90% of you never even, got out of your own way to just go challenge yourself and even see if you had what it takes. Right. Like, so I can imagine like my mentality, for example, trying to go to ranger school or selection when I was in the Army and you don't make it or whatever happens. And it's like, well, at least I fucking went. What did you do? You know what I mean? And that was very much my attitude. And so I can imagine that's probably a lot of what you were feeling. It's like, don't fucking call me that, because I had the balls to actually do something hard and you didn't.
right. Like, what'd you do? Swim 50 yards in boot camp? You'll be all right, big guy. But no, the first couple times it bothers you, and I was just sour, man. I was just fucking mad. I was just mad at the world, and it was my fault, right?
It's misplaced anger. You should have been mad at yourself.
Yeah, I was just mad. And I mean, Pensacola has some questionable rules about how they go about, but that's just military, right? You're not going to agree with every rule. Um, but yeah, once I figured out that there actually are some people out there who don't care what you did prior to coming to their school, it makes a huge difference. And I think, like, there's a lot of people in the Navy who wanted to be SEAL, SWCC, EOD, diver, and didn't make it, and they're afraid to say it. And I'm here being like, yes, I did not make it. Like, it's okay for you not to make it. Your world is not going to end. And if you want to go back, they give you a contract to go back. You just got to make a package to go back and all that. But the mindset of it was, once I kind of got over that hump of being angry, I channeled all of that into being like a good sailor. I wanted to. Now there was times I definitely wasn't. I think everyone has had those times.
For sure. And anybody
But
who tells you they haven't is lying to you.
right. And then when you get to the big Navy, people, they still got that buds dud. Even it's been years since I've done that, and they're always just like, "Yeah, you're a bud stud, right?" Like, well, SWCC, but whatever. That was always my answer. Yeah, but
Let me correct you real quick.
yeah, right.
Yeah. And that's probably a really good way to handle it, because they're just kind of dumbfounded at that point. Like, well, this dude just corrected me, so it's like, I guess can't get to him.
Right. And you just grow some skin about it. It happened, whatever. It taught me a whole new level of discipline, I'll tell you that much. And it taught me that I can push my body way further than I thought I could.
Yeah, standing in a cold shower in your underwear and it's 50 degrees, it's just no thanks. Like, not interested. Good for you, man. So you didn't do any deployments or anything like that, right?
I did one deployment. Yeah.
Where'd you go?
Bahrain.
How was that?
It was very trying times on me and my wife, because I treated it like I was just partying. I don't know if you've ever been to Bahrain, but
I've not. No, I got to go to the shitty places in the world. I didn't get to go to the fun places in the world.
Yeah. So I'll just give you a little insight to an air crewman, a 53 air crewman's deployment to Bahrain. So you go there, it's tax free, because it is technically a combat zone.
Yeah. Do you get hazard pay too?
Yeah. So we get flight pay, tax free, we get per diem, just $124 a day every day you're there,
Okay. All
and
right. Way to go,
we're
Navy.
yeah, and we're staying in a 4-star hotel on land.
What's
I'm I'm
this is a
not kidding you.
deployment.
This is a deployment. Yeah. Uh, so yeah, I just went over there and partied for 5 months, and then when my wife came to me and was like, "You need to put yourself in my shoes. How would you feel if I was out there doing all this shit?" I was like, you know what? I think I understand why it's been so trying on our relationship. And then when I kind of had that moment, I was like, wow, you know I understand, and I need to stop doing this. Um, but that's just the 53 way, right? It's not, oh man, I'm bored. I'm gonna go, go walk around for a bit. It's like, oh man, I'm bored. I'm gonna rip a 24 pack and just sit on my couch and watch TV. And it's weird because alcohol is almost praised. If that's I feel like across the military, alcohol is like praised. It is,
It's
and
widely accepted. It's social fuel. It's just what you're expected to do. Yeah.
and it sucks because some days I didn't want to do that, and I'd be laying in bed, and 4 or 5 guys come in, and they're dragging me out of my room. Like, no, we're going right now, and you don't have a choice. What am I going to do? Fight 5 dudes? No,
Yeah, I
I
mean, it's the same way in the Army, man. Like I can remember there were times, particularly living in the barracks, where we would stock up on IVs after you get CLS done, and it's just like it's because you're going to go party so hard, then you're going to have to do a bunch of PT. So we would give each other IVs, and it's just the culture. It's just really what you do. You know what I mean? And it's I can relate to that so much because the peer pressure is almost overwhelming because you're trying to be a part of a team. You're trying to show them that you're there, you ride or die, like you're just down for anything. Yet so many of us end up with problems with alcohol after service, right? Or even oftentimes during our service. So
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
that's
it's nobody. It's like nobody talks about alcoholism. Like the way that people drink in the military is alcoholism. Not everyone, not everyone, but like I'm looking at dudes who are drinking 3, 4 beers a night, and I'm like, yeah, you may not be hammered. That is alcoholism, though, right? You're drinking 30 beers a week, dude. Yeah, like, and I'm sure I'll get some grief from that from my friends, but I'm like, dude, I'm just being honest. That's what it is, and yeah, but yeah, so I did a deployment there, and then I did like a few small debts to like Panama City and stuff like that. Actually, that's the only time I was on a boat, but I got to come home every day. So
Jeez, man, you're pissing all the Navy people off.
oh,
So
I
So
know.
let's talk about what led to the decision to ultimately get out after 6 years in an E5. It sounds like E5 in 6 years with the buds dud thing or whatever, right? I still feel like that's pretty fast tracking. I don't know because I don't know the Navy well, but it sounded like you were on a good trajectory. So what ultimately led to your decision to get out?
So I watched my roommate who was an E6. I was an E4 at the time on deployment. He was an E6. I watched him FaceTime his kids and tell him how much that he missed them, and tell just not be able to be present with them. And I made the decision right then and there that I'm not gonna be away from my children ever again. That is my leading factor of I'm not doing that. you know I'm not going to be away from my family. And especially how hard that first deployment was with me and my wife, I'm not putting her through that again, even though obviously the second one I'm sure would have went better now that I knew that that was something to deal with. But I was like, why even put her through that? I don't want to watch my wife cry whenever I walk onto that plane anymore. I don't want to. I don't want to miss my kid's first day of preschool. I don't want to do that.
Fair enough, man. So let's talk about it. Your transition has been, I guess, for all intents and purposes, rough. It hasn't been good, right? And so let's talk about the transition. What are the main challenges in your transition? Because you're very, very, very much still in the transition period. How long have you been out now? Officially? Yeah, so 90 days. So I mean, for me, if I think back to, getting out, there's the excitement of getting your DD 214 and being free and not having to follow orders and all of that. And I think for me, that excitement lasted maybe all of 3 weeks. And then I was completely lost and miserable and like, what the fuck now? What do I do now? So let's kind of walk us through the transition. We met through a skill bridge that you did, which I think is phenomenal because I don't know what your opinion of that program is. I've heard varying opinions from it's the greatest thing that could have ever happened to me getting out of the military to, it's kind of lackluster and I wish it would have been more. I tend to lean to those people probably didn't put as much into it as they could have. But I wasn't even offered a skill bridge. I had a shitty ACAP, write a resume, use your GI Bill. Thanks for serving. Figure it out, right? Like, is it very much still the same way, or is skill bridge? Did you find it a good program?
So I actually, I'll just tell you, my favorite thing about getting out. This is sarcasm, by the way. My favorite thing about getting out is all the chiefs, senior chiefs, master chiefs telling you how the civilian world is going to be. I'm like, you've been in the Navy for 30 years. You have no idea how the civilian world is, right? I hated every day I'd go in there and they'd be like, do you have this lined up? Do you have this lined up? And I'm like, I understand you're 45 years old, but you haven't been in the civilian world for however many years. That used to drive me insane. So I would encourage anyone who's listening to connect with a civilian and ask them questions about how, everything.
Hey,
Yeah. Connect
I'm
with
here.
Adam. Yeah, seriously. Or just reach out to anybody. That's a veteran. I would say a veteran at least. But yeah. So I started my skill bridge in December, and it's online. And I started it December 22nd. And I was actually on a road trip to Louisiana, 16 hours from where I live now, and I was sitting in my passenger seat trying to do the skill bridge. I'm running a hotspot on my phone, and I just look at my wife. I'm like, "Fuck this! I'm just gonna re-enlist when I get back. Like, I'm not doing this." I was literally out of the Navy for less than 24 hours. I was like, I'm over it, right? I'm done with this. And but luckily, whenever I got back, I think I just struggled with not being around, my friends. Honestly, the skill bridge is online, so I'm just sitting at my desk, staring at a computer, talking to people that I've never met before, which is good. But I was just like, man, I can't joke with y'all like I joke with my friends and stuff like that. And then I don't think personally I put enough into the skill bridge to get everything that I wanted out of it. Now, meeting you was a huge part of that. You were actually the only person that I ever reached out to on that skill bridge, luckily enough.
Whoa. Why, first of all? Because I know SkillBridge puts a lot of good resources in front of you, and I do know, I got a lot of feedback after I presented to you guys at the SkillBridge, which honestly was the best thing that could have happened for me as well. So, this is a two-way street, but a lot of the feedback I got was, thank you for being genuine in your approach. Thank you for not trying to recruit us. Thank you for opening our minds to what is possible. Because I guess really what SkillBridge is you're just getting a bunch of headhunters in there trying to recruit you to their company, blowing smoke up your ass about why their company is so great. And I know that sounds really derogatory about the people presenting at SkillBridge. I never had an opportunity to go through SkillBridge, so I'm not trying to trash the program, because I know from experience talking to plenty of you guys that have gone through SkillBridge, like how beneficial a lot of people find it. But also, I can't ignore the feedback I was getting from a lot of you guys was like, thanks for not trying to recruit us and just giving us information. Is that what I'm like to understand SkillBridge actually is? Is it's really just a bunch of companies trying to recruit you guys?
Yeah, so it's basically we're doing these courses on Coursera to get these certifications, which is good.
It's really good, honestly, because it's free to you guys, and those certifications, the green belt, Six Sigma stuff, all that shit is a window into a really, really, really good career if you want it. So I would encourage people. I'm not trying to shit on SkillBridge. I don't think you are either, but see it for what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would highly encourage anybody that's transitioning to do any skill bridge that you're interested in. Seriously, you don't have to do something that's like some crazy. I did digital marketing just because I knew I was going to run my own business and I wanted a somewhat of a rough idea of how to market myself to people. Um, yeah, what was the question? Sorry, I don't remember
It,
what.
I just want to understand all the challenges
Oh,
you've gone
why
through in your
you?
transition and SkillBridge, and like what you're clearly recommending it to people. You've clearly admitted that you could have gotten more out of it had you not been so agnostic to it. I mean, you admitted, in your first 24 hours, you're like, fuck this, I want back in the Navy. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Right. So I just want to paint the picture of, and this is your floor, man. Talk about the transition, talk about the challenges, because this is the stuff, particularly because you're so still in it. 90 days is not a long time. I've been out 9 years. You know what I mean? So like, my transition looks a lot different than all of you guys'. And the point of this show is to show those veterans who are sitting around in that transition hole, however long. I was in it for 8 fucking years, right? Like, you don't need to be in it that long. And I think you can attest to that, because our conversations have moved you forward in the last 2 months so much further than I think you even expected that they would, which means I'm doing a good job presenting the transition and the path back to purpose through entrepreneurship and options that you have, whether you want to be, like I say, I'm advocating for you to take advantage of the skill bridge and those certifications, because they can make you a good entrepreneur as well. I'm not saying you have to be an entrepreneur. It's just what I found helped me the most, and it resonates with you and so many others from that skill bridge course. So just talk about your transition, the challenges you face, and all that stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So the transition for anybody that's getting out is going to be rough. I think that I think you could have a plan and everything and have a job, a resume, and everything lined up, but just leaving behind that lifestyle that you've known for years and years is going to be rough, right? It's just like quitting a job you really really enjoyed because you got a better opportunity somewhere else. It sucks, but I think the biggest thing that people need to realize is you're not stuck in the military. If you want to get out, you can get out and you can be successful outside of the military. A lot of people don't have the same mindset that we have. A lot of people. I've noticed that by working a few odd jobs around the area. I'm like, wow, these people have just no wonder I got hired out of everyone, you know.
Yeah, there's no discipline, no work ethic, no pride, no. It's almost, I don't know. I look at a lot of people and I see just entitlement. Just like, you need to give me a job because that's what you're supposed to do, not because I have a particular set of skills or a motivation about me or a work ethic about me. It's just because you're a employer and I need a job, so you're supposed to give it to me, and I'm going to do that job about 40% of my capacity. I'm going to do enough to get by. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it is. They're just doing the bare minimum to just collect a paycheck. I understand. I've done the bare minimum before, but it's like, dude, you got to put just the slightest bit more of effort because now I'm taking on 80% of what you're supposed to be doing. You
Yeah,
know?
and that's frustrating. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's most frustrating because it's like, I don't know how to just give the bare minimum. The military taught me that bare minimum is not the standard. Like, the standard is the standard, and you're supposed to give it everything you have, right? So that immediately for me, when I got out, I can remember this very clearly because my big issue was anger, rage over everything, right? And it would just infuriate me. It's like, I now have to pick up your slack because I don't know how to do anything differently, right? Like, I just know how to work. That's what I know how to do. And you're not doing it, but you're getting paid the same amount of money to do way less than I'm doing,
Yeah.
essentially.
So what I've noticed is the bare minimum in the military transferred to the civilian world is exponentially different. from the bare minimum civilian world to bare minimum military. Like you would be the top of your company in 10 years if you were doing bare minimum, your military bare minimum in the civilian world. It's crazy the difference in scale. But yeah, back to the transition thing. Um, just, I think what I struggled with is I had a plan, and then whenever that first punch came, when you get everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, right? My plan just crumbled in front of me, and I was like, "Oh my god, I have a mortgage to pay for. I have all, like, oh my god, I'm freaking out." And then you got to be adaptable and flexible. You got to just be able to wiggle through the small spaces. You got to be able to just navigate the civilian world. And I'm still learning how to navigate the civilian world. I actually didn't get an interview the other day because I said something that I guess was inappropriate or they didn't like. And they were just like, "Yeah, we're not going to move forward." And I was like, "Okay, well, I probably wouldn't work out there anyway." So,
Right,
you know,
right.
it's just typical stuff like that you have to realize, like, okay, I can't, do these things anymore, or I have to do this now.
So let's talk about you said you had a plan and then you got punched in the mouth. So let's talk about what was your plan, because I think this is going to be so powerful for those veterans who are transitioning, because even when I was a leader in the Army, I would try to tell soldiers to have a plan, like have a plan, but I didn't understand because I hadn't transitioned either. I wasn't necessarily one of those chiefs you were talking about, like you need to do this and you need to do this, but like I was trying to be a good leader and use the resources that I had back in 2014, 15, 16, whatever it was, and the landscape's completely different now because there's more options. But yeah, I was telling, my Joes, like, hey, do you have a plan? Are you going to go to college and use your GI Bill so you can get some money to sustain yourself? Like, have you started applying to jobs? Have you worked on putting that resume together and translating your military experience into civilian experience? And all of those things, while I think they are the right thing to do as a leader in the military, they're really not the right thing to do because you just don't know. I didn't know what it was to be a civilian. I joined at 17 years old. So my whole adult life is Army, right? So what was your plan and what derailed your plan?
So I'm really into I'm sure you went to SEER as a sniper, right? The survival school.
I was never a sniper, man. I got to no, that's just my little sniper banner there. I found that in like a bag of old military stuff, and so that guidon is just kind of like it's just like one of those cool little memorabilias. No, dude, I have terrible eyesight, and sniping is not something I ever wanted to do ever. Like laying in one spot for a long time and low crawling fucking miles doesn't appeal to me at all. So that, and then I really never wanted to put a ghillie suit together and then have to go roll in mud for hours. That just didn't appeal to me either. So no, but I do have. There was a like a condensed kind of intro to SEER school that I went to, so I've got some kind of experience with that, although probably not anywhere close to like what you've got.
Yeah. So I did SEER up in Kittery, Maine, and it was, like it was 2 weeks, 1 week in the classroom, 1 week out in the field. You're getting all that stuff. But it's a survival, evasion, resistance, and escape school. So you kind of learn how to survive in the woods, then, escape or resist, whatever. And whenever I left there, I was like, that's the best training that I've ever gotten that I'm never going to do again because it sucks, you know? And then sitting back and like probably a year and a half out, I was like, I wonder if I could be a civilian SEER instructor, like go contract up there. Because I'm really into kind of like the primitive survival, like camping, all of that stuff. So I was like, that would be right up my alley, right? And then I just, I don't know. I had like this thought in my head that I could just get any job that I wanted. It's just you send your resume over and you kind of just get picked up, right? And then we had some things fall through. Then I realized I didn't really want to live in Maine. I hate the cold. I really don't like the cold. And I was like, okay, yeah, there's one in Maine and one in San Diego, and I'm definitely not living in San Diego, and I'm definitely not living in Maine. So kind of pivoted away from that, and then uh, I thought maybe I'll do real estate. was like, no, I don't want to do real estate. Oh, maybe I'll do cybersecurity. Then I took like 2 or 3 courses, and I was like, I'm not good at this, and I don't like this. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
my dad's cybersecurity, and I was calling him, and I was trying to convince myself that I liked it because I was like, oh, maybe I'll follow my dad's footsteps. No, that's not for me, right? And I went through all of these different jobs, and then the day came where I got out, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just take this month off to spend with my wife, kind of reflect back on my military career. So and then that time comes, and I'm still don't have a job. I'm not underwater yet. I've had plenty of savings stuff, but then I started applying to jobs. Then I realized, like we had a conversation the other day, searching for jobs is way harder than people lead on it to be.
Well,
I
it's awful right now, man. Like especially like if you want to find something that's not spam, now you're having to pay for job boards, right? Because Indeed is I cruised it the other day after our conversation just to check it out and see all the bullshit that's on there. It's like, "Oh my god." Like it's no wonder people are upset.
Yeah, it's bad. And I even went back to the old traditional ways, walking in somewhere with my resume, and the first thing they tell me every time is, "Did you see this on Indeed? Are we hiring right now?" I'm like, "You're asking me if you are hiring right now." Like, I don't know. I came in here to try and get a job. And they're like, "Yeah, no, just apply on Indeed." I'm like, "Okay." So obviously, walking into places doesn't work anymore.
Which
And
is
then
weird because as recently as 2020, I did the same thing and I got hired at 4 different places on the same day.
yeah, I mean, maybe I was going in the wrong places, but I don't know. Um, but yeah, and then entrepreneurship kind of fell in my lap from, well, meeting with you. One, that was I was like super early on in my. I didn't even know if I really wanted to do it. I just kind of was like, maybe I'll try it, and then I was like, oh, I really like this. And then I watched my wife run her own business and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I get to see she wakes up in her pajamas every day, gets on her computer, does all of her work. I'm like, I want to live that life. So,
Well,
yeah,
and so that is your kind of your inspiration, right? Because your wife did have a pretty successful t-shirt printing business, right? And then some things happened, and she got a cease and desist, right?
yeah. Well, she didn't get that. She was close. It was starting to get to that point, so we kind of had to pivot away from the trademark stuff.
Right. And then you guys had actually hired a business coach, right, for your wife. And that didn't work out well either, did it? In our first, I'll never forget that. In our first conversation, you're like, yeah, my wife had, this business and we hired this business coach. And I still don't know what he did for me. And I'm like, did he even tell you about starting an email list? And you're like, what's an email list? And I was like, that's rough, man. That's rough. So let's talk about your support system and, particularly your wife, and what role did she play in supporting your decision to kind of pursue it's Country Carves, right? That's the name of your business. And after our conversation, I'm sure you went and had a conversation with her. You seemed really excited at the end of that conversation, and I didn't promise you anything. I just kind of gave you some perspective on what you are capable of and how you could use this stuff to pursue something that really aligns with your core values and just what you wanted to do with your life. Is that fair to say? So you take that information that I gave you and you go back to your wife and what is that conversation like, and is she supportive of that?
Yeah. So I just got very lucky with marrying the woman that I did. She's always been 100% on board with anything that, like, business endeavors that I wanted to do. When I came to her and I was like, I kind of want to do what you're doing. I'll actually give you a little funny story. I wanted to do what she was doing. And so I got on my computer, I started designing and stuff. I'm not a designer. I learned that very quickly.
Yeah, yeah, same.
And I had a clothing brand called Wilderness Wears, because it was like, oh, this will be outdoors. I kind of keep my foot in the door with doing something that I like. And I'm telling you, maybe not even 6 or 7 days later, I was like, I'm not going to do this. So I actually just closed down completely, that because I was like, I cannot do what you're doing. I can't do it. So then I started looking, I was like, okay, what do I want to do? Like, I want to stay in the realm of making something. And so we started looking together, and she's like, have you ever thought about lasering something? I was like, I don't even think I've ever bought anything that's laser engraved. I'm sure I have and just didn't know that it was laser engraved. And then I started looking, and there was a reasonably priced laser, and I was like, you know what? Did my research, yeah, kind of made a plan of what I wanted to do, and I pulled the trigger on it. And she was right there with me the whole way, supporting me every step of the way.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool. So, what is it about laser engraving that you like?
I love whenever somebody comes to me and they're like, can you bring this to life? Like, I have this grandiose idea that's like all over the place, but can you bring it all together and then laser it on something? I'm like, yes, I can do that. I just like making stuff. Honest, I just love making things. I love the look on people's faces whenever they may be expecting. I know my friends, they would expect something not very well done by me, and then when I give it to them, they're like, "Whoa, this is really good," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's something I actually enjoy doing." So I put my heart and soul into everything that I engrave.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's so cool.
I like, and it's also cool looking at lasers. I'm just a guy at heart. I just like looking at pew pew pew
Dude,
laser stuff.
and that's just it, man. Like if you really wanted your socials to take off, you could do those ASMR laser up close video. I get sucked into those, dude. And I don't because I have no desire to buy a laser engraver. I have no, I when I managed the gun store, we would laser NFA stuff for people, suppressors and lowers, whatever. And I hated it. I hated every minute of trying to set it up, trying to figure out to get the right power on the laser so you don't burn something up or get it too deep, or trying to figure out, this person wants it to be white, but not all the way white. And it's like, fuck, dude. Like, this is not for me. But the coolest part is when you push go and then I get to watch it do its thing. And it's like, this is kind of cool. Right.
Yeah,
So,
right.
no, dude. So laser engraving, like you did your research, you talked to your wife and creating, like, did you ever see, like, how did you come up with a way that you were going to make money doing it? Like, what went into that research? And like, because I remember our conversation, I was very upfront with you, and I was like, look, man, like, I know digital. I don't know creating products and laser engraving, and I can give you all the knowledge that I have, because a lot of it is transferable, right? Like, you need a list, you're going to need a website, right? Pricing, learning how to charge for your time and all of that. We've had all those conversations, but as far as like, how do you get clients, and like how did you come up with this plan and decide, yes, I can do this?
Yeah. So I am not a businessman at heart. I'm not, and I'm very transparent about that. I didn't even know what a proposal or an invoice was until I started a business. I'm just being honest. I didn't know anything about business. So the money thing was a big issue, right? Because you spend thousands of dollars on this laser, and then you're like, okay, cool, I got it. Now I'm going to make something that 1,000 other people has made, but people are going to buy mine. That was my mindset. I'm going to make something super simple that a freaking 5-year-old can make, but people are going to buy it because it's me. Quickly learned that is not the case. So you got to get creative in what you got to learn what people are searching for through like SEO and stuff like that. And once you figure that out, you're able to get clients a lot more easily. I get a lot of mine through Instagram because I try my best to post funnier things than more like strictly business related. Like I said, I'm not a business guy. I like laughing. I'm a funny guy, right? I don't enjoy, the tux tie freaking talking business all the time. That's just not me. That's not who I am. And so yeah, I try and do, and I'll engrave anything. If you want to put, F whoever and then give it to them, sure, I'll do that. I don't care. But I think the more authentic you are running your business, the more people will like flock to you. Don't
100%,
be
man.
fake. Don't be trying to be somebody that you're not. And people appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, they really do. Authenticity is currency. Now, I really believe that, and I think moving forward, authenticity is really what's going to give people an edge. I do it in all of my content. I love seeing you posting your content, and I don't do a lot on Instagram, but when I see your LinkedIn stuff, it's like, yeah, this is great, man. Like you told on yourself the other day, you're like, I didn't do what I was supposed to do, so it resulted in me burning up the paper, right? And that's like being authentic in that way. And I did a post the other day where I fucked up. I missed an appointment to be a guest on a podcast. I'm embarrassed by it, but I'm telling on myself because I need to show people that I'm just as human as everybody else who makes mistakes, right? I'm not above anybody. I'm not better than anybody in any kind of sense. It's just I may have a little bit more, I don't know, something that allows me to tell on myself and be authentic that people aren't willing to. I'm okay being uncomfortable and telling on myself, I guess, is really what it is. And it goes a long, long way, man. And so, you getting into the laser engraving thing and thinking people are going to buy your shit and not knowing anything about business, you're like, you didn't have a UVP, right? You didn't have a unique value proposition to make you stand out. So how did you find that? And like, what is your kind of methodology to making yourself stand out?
Mhm. So I'm actually still trying to figure that out. I'll be completely honest with you. I have thought about this for months on end of what makes me different than anybody else. And then you go and do your competition analysis and you're like, okay, what makes them different from everyone else? And you try and pair all these together. And it's difficult. It's a very hard question to answer, especially having so much competition out there. I have to like really, really stand out. So I think what I'm doing, or well, I'll tell you what I'm doing right now is every order that I get, I'm giving them a personal phone call like, hey, I got your order. I want you to know I'm working on it right now. I'm going to ship it tomorrow or the next day. Thank you so much for ordering, stuff like that. Or I'll send them a personalized email. Hey, blah, blah, blah. This is Lawson, the owner of Country Carves, and saying, I really appreciate it. So that's what I'm doing right now. But I honestly can't answer the question of what makes me stand out.
Well, I
I'm
think I think you did just answer that question, man, because in a business like you're trying to run, customer service is going to go the distance for you. Good customer service, there's no replacement for that. And so while it may not seem fruitful for you right now to be doing what you're doing, calling these people and sending them personal emails, I do it with the podcast. You'll see when your episode comes out sometime early next year, because it's how far ahead I am. As I pull it out to start editing it, you'll get an email that says, "Hey, man," and it's not automated email. It's literally me saying, "Hey, I just pulled your stuff out of the archives. I'm putting it into my editor right now. I'm cutting it up. There's going to be a Google Drive link for you to download the final copy, right?" And then the day before it goes live, or even a couple of days before the episode launches, I'll get you excited about our episode launching, right? Like I think those are the things that truly matter, to the customers or the guests, or just to build a solid reputation and show people that you're real and that you care about the work that you're doing. So I think you did just answer. That's what's making you unique. And over time, as you get reps in and you do more of that, I think that's going to pay off huge, man. I think you're going to get to a point where you're like, fuck, I can't keep up with this anymore.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. You know,
So, so with the laser engraving stuff, like what kind of mediums can you engrave on?
uh, I can almost do anything, almost. So I actually have been working with acrylic this entire week, and it has been kicking my ass. I've not been able to do what I want to do, and so I'm still working on that. But I mean, I can almost do anything. So, yeah.
Is that a cathartic process for you? Because to me, if I tried to laser engrave acrylic and didn't get right the first 3 or 4 times, I'd be like, "Fuck this! I'm not doing it anymore." Is it for you? Is it just a challenge that you're like, "I'm gonna beat this"? And
Yeah.
is
No,
it fun for you?
it is. It is really fun whenever I get it, but the process of getting it is so frustrating because it could be as small as turning the power down 3%, and then I got it. But you got to do it 150 times to get that 3%, or turn the speed up 100 millimeters a second or something like that. And it's just like, oh my god, why is this not working? And I had to call my wife in yesterday. I was like, I need another pair of eyes and another brain on this because I've tried everything, and I'm just getting to the point where I'm just about to throw the acrylic away and just take a loss on it. And but if there's any laser engravers out there and you've worked with acrylic, please let me know. Like what the settings are, or what you're doing right, or
Are
so.
there like forums or Reddit forums? Have you checked for stuff like that and like laser
Yeah,
engraving to go find settings?
I have, but the specific laser I have is relatively new. So it's not like one of those old ones where everyone has the settings for everything. And I kind of like figuring it out by myself anyways, because a lot of the time I'll read something and I'll put those settings in my laser and it doesn't work. So I'm like, maybe I should just figure it out myself, and whatever works for my specific laser, I'll just run with that.
Well, dude, and I think it's important that you realize that, right? So you realize you have a product that is kind of new. There's not a bunch of resources out there for settings and all of that. So, to further your business, you can get stuff like that dialed in, then put it into a lead magnet to grow, your audience and your list, right? And become maybe, it's just another avenue for you to develop your business, I think. I don't know if you've considered that yet or not.
No, no, I haven't, but that is true. I didn't. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
didn't
I
think about
just me sitting here thinking about it, like I would be incredibly frustrated and just quit. Like it's just not for me. But you are different, you're built different, and then you like figuring that stuff out, no matter how frustrating it gets. So capitalize on your frustration. If you're going through that process and really, putting all this effort into figuring out these settings, there's no reason you can't use it to further your business.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that's like a beautiful part about being an entrepreneur and really genuinely never knowing what's going on or what you're supposed to be doing is like you can take that step back and open your perspective and see it from a different way. And it's like, well, I could sit here and choose to be frustrated and pissed off because things aren't working my way, or I can look at it like, yeah, this is frustrating and it pisses me off, but I know at the end of this I can repurpose this entire experience to sell it or give it away to grow my list, or whatever that looks like. And that's the beautiful part about being an entrepreneur and choosing to go that route. Because if you're in the corporate world, working like I think the most comparable thing I can think of is like CNC machines. It's like there's a system, there's a process. You don't get to figure anything out because it's already figured out, and you just come push a bunch of buttons all day every day. That's not cool. So let's talk about the mission and the vision behind Country Carves. What is your mission and what is your vision for Country Carves?
So my main mission is I just want people to know that if you think of something and you want it done, there's people out there that can do it. Don't, and it doesn't have to be me. It could be anybody. I want people to know that if you want something special done that's really tailored to you and really, very special to you, you can get it done. You just got to find people that will do it. And then the vision for Country Carves, honestly, is my dream is to be a boss one day. I want to be a boss because I've had shitty leadership in the military, and I want to change that. I want people to enjoy coming to work. I want people to come to Country Carves and be like, "This, I love working here." You know, that's my whole vision. I want that. I want to run a business, and I want to just stick it to the corporate world and be like, see, people can come to the work in gym shorts and Birkenstocks and a tank top and do the same thing that y'all are doing, that are working 12-hour days. You don't have to freaking do all that. y'all are way too stressed about everything. Just take a step back and relax, man. You know?
Yeah, yeah, I love that, man, because I spend 90% of my life in a tank top, as you well know. So no, that's awesome. Yeah, so what is your process for let's say I come to you with an idea. What is your process for bringing my crazy ass idea to life that I don't even understand how it could work on a laser engraver?
Yeah. So you'll just come to me. Let's say you email me and you're like, "Hey, I want some just like a really vague something." I'm like, "Okay, let's bring it in a little bit so I know what to do." So we'll email back and forth a little bit about what you want, and then my wife actually designs everything, because, like I said, I'm not a designer, and we're 50-50 on Country Carves. So she'll design maybe two or three different designs. I'll email those to you. Hey, which one do you like? Or if you don't like any of them, why don't you like them? Let's change whatever you don't like about it. And then from there, transfer it into a line image. Obviously, I can't engrave colors, so it's not going to be a colored thing. And then whatever material, if you want it on a cutting board or a coaster or a bottle or whatever, I'll put it on there, send it over to you, and then that's it. It's a pretty simple process.
It's really that simple. Oh, well,
It's
it helps that your wife has the design bug, right? Because without a designer, you're kind of fucked. So so there is that to it. How did you get your wife on board with this? Was she just like enamored because she had already run her own business and she was like, yeah, I think you and I can team up and do this and we could grow this thing, because I'm sitting here thinking like, you're saying you can engrave anything, and I'm thinking like, man, I could send you like a motorcycle gas tank and you could laser engrave the whole thing for me. That'd be
yeah.
really cool,
Well,
right? Like
yeah,
figuring that kind of shit out though, like in the future, that could be your operation, right? Like you could become known as the guy that does custom laser engraving on Harleys or some stupid shit like that, right? Like, or I don't know, shoes seem to be really popular, and people taking shoes apart and painting them and coloring them and making custom shoes for other people. Like maybe you figure out how to laser engrave leather, and that's something that's not being done, right? So how, like, is that, like, did she see your vision for it too?
yeah. So she actually used to be a web designer for a long time. So she's all into designing. She can design anything, right? And so when I went to her and asked her about laser engraving, I was like, I'm not going to be able to design anything. So if somebody doesn't send me exactly what they want engraved, I'm not going to be able to just be like, yeah, I can do a football field and a whole stadium that's on top of a mountain on Mars, or something crazy like that. Like I'm not going to be able to design that, but you can. And um, so I basically asked her, like, if I get this, would you be willing to design if I need you to design? And she said, yeah. And she designed my whole website. She's designed many designs for me. Every design you see on my website is all designed by her.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, and
What
she's
is it like
got a
to
knack for it, dude.
what is it like to have such a supportive partner where you can team up and run? Because I've not had, I think you're the first person in almost 50 episodes I've recorded. I haven't released that many, so chill out, people. But by the time you're hearing this, I've released that many, so it's fine. But in 50 episodes, you're the first kind of husband and wife team that I've had, and I've been around family-owned businesses. My first sleeve of tattoos I got was a family-owned tattoo shop, and I hung out there a lot. They're really, really good friends of mine. Some business opportunities coming up with that family here in the near future, which I'm super excited about because it's in the cannabis industry, and I really want to be in that industry. But I saw the dynamics with that. So what do you do to mitigate any kind of, frustrations, or like, do you guys have a process? Did you sit down and talk about that when you went into this? Like, this has the potential to destroy our relationship. Like a lot of family owned businesses are pretty dysfunctional. And I'm not saying all of them. It's not a blanket statement here, but just based on my experience in several family owned businesses I've been around, there's a vape shop in Washington, that my vape family, I've seen some dark days in there, from time to time. So what are you doing to mitigate that? And is there a way to mitigate that?
Yeah. So there's this quote that I really love that I think everybody should live their life by. You love your parents because they're your parents. You love your brothers and sisters because they're your brothers and sisters. You love your kids because they're your kids. But you love your spouse because you chose to love your spouse. You chose that person, right? And the dynamic is we're very blessed because she loves designing and I love engraving. So it's not even that it's almost not work to us. Like if I'm like, hey, now obviously there's been times where it gets stressful and stuff, but she works on the couch 99% of the time and I work in my office, and that's kind of our separation. But I've worked from home since December of last year, and we have had I just love spending time with my wife. I just love being around my wife. And I think she likes being around me. At least she's stuck around for this long. But I just think people need to be really careful with who you choose to be your spouse. And if you choose the right person, then some petty argument is not going to blow up into something that it doesn't need to be.
Yeah, man. It's so true. I've talked to a couple of other people who say that as well. Like, you do get a choice and you need to choose carefully because it matters. It really does matter. And I'm speaking from experience with 2 marriages that I blew up, and I'm not 100% guilty for both of them because it takes 2 to tango. But on my 3rd marriage and being married now, my wife now is so supportive, and we just had a conversation this morning. She's like, all you do is work. And I'm so thrilled to see all the progress that you're making. And I want you to know I'm behind you, even though I make off the wall comments like, you're always busy. And it's like, but she understands what I'm driving at, what I'm trying to build here. And it doesn't cause fights. It's like, okay, she's letting me know that she needs more of my time. So I have to heed that and make time for her. You know what I mean? And I think that's amazing, man. I'm so happy for you that you have that, particularly because, all the work that you and I have been doing with your transition and some of the tools I've given you, and you go to her after I ask you to, and it just makes your relationship better and lets her know that, you're actively doing your part to heal and get better as well. So I think that's amazing, man. And I'm excited for you, dude. I'm really excited for you.
I got like a lot of good things going on in life, man. And there's just so much to be grateful for in my life. I'm not trying to brag. I'm so blessed with, I have good health. I have a great wife, I have great friends. I have a great family. And it breaks my heart to see small businesses that are shutting down because they don't have that support system. I hate that. Like I can't give advice to anybody because I'm early on in my business venture, but man, I just wish everyone could experience my life for a few days.
Yeah,
I
man.
genuinely do.
So let's talk about some of your challenges and successes here as we get ready to wrap up. You're very early on in your journey, and I'm so excited for your journey. I'm so excited that you're allowing me to be a mentor and help you through your journey, because, dude, it just fills my cup so much to just help people improve their situation in life and make a difference. But to this point, what has been the biggest challenge you've had to overcome, and how did you do that?
So the biggest challenge that I've had to overcome is learning how to be a businessman. Like I didn't know anything. I did not know anything about business. I didn't know business finance. That was a huge, like, whoa, what do I do with all? I didn't know what sales tax was, any of that. Like, I got to charge that, or freaking IRS can come knock on the door, and getting an LLC and all of these different things. Like, just learning. You just got to jump in and just trial by fire.
And that's just it, right? Like,
Yeah,
just take the action.
yeah, the learning curve is steep, but once you start learning, a lot of stuff intertwines with each other in business. So you may learn one thing, but you actually learn 4 things.
Yes.
So
You just don't know what you're learning because you don't know how to apply it yet. So let's speak to that challenge, right? You didn't know about business finance. You didn't know where to get an LLC. Hindsight is 2020. Is that stuff really that hard? Thinking about it now, it's unfamiliar, right? It's unfamiliar. You don't know it, but at the end of the day, it's really not that hard. And the LLC, for example, how hard was that?
It's really not that hard, but when you're in that process, it's like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. What are all these different websites I'm on? What's a RA? Like, I don't know all that stuff. I didn't know what any of that was, and I know now.
You do know now. Did you do it yourself or did you pay somebody to do it?
So I'm actually in the process of working with somebody to do it with me. Like I've done like a very slow process through the whole thing because I wanted to learn each individual step in depth of why we're doing this. It's just kind of like you want to know exactly what's going on with your business.
Yeah, I'm
So
totally the opposite when it came to forming the LLC. I just went to inkfile.com. I paid them the money and everything was done in a week and that was it. And now I just pay them every year to renew it and I don't have to worry about it because for me, it's just not something that moves the needle. I don't care. I know that I'm paying a reputable company to take care of the legal formation of my business and maintain it, and I don't have to worry about it's done. It's worth the investment to me. But I want people to understand that forming an LLC is really not that hard. Go to your state website, find LLC, follow the steps, pay the money. It's done. It's really that simple.
Yep, it is. It is really
Business
that
finance, buy a tool. QuickBooks is great. You know what I mean? Like it's that simple. And beyond that, I think what would your advice be as far as where do you go to learn this stuff?
So I'm a little bit different. I like to teach myself. I think I learn the best by teaching myself. And then when I teach myself, I'll go to somebody like you and be like, hey, I'm doing this, this, and this. Is that right? And then if you're like, no, okay, well, I mislearned somewhere along the road. If you're like, yeah, well, okay, cool, I'm on the right path.
Yeah, dude.
Keep going.
And that's exactly what I was fishing for. It's the networking aspect of it, right? Reaching out to people who have experience and not being afraid to do it because, you know, it's not that like the worst thing I'm going to say to you is no, I'm not going to give you my time, right? Like you took a chance by DMing me after my presentation to the Skill Bridge program, which probably was super uncomfortable for you if I'm having to guess, but it ended up not being that scary. And now we have an incredible relationship, right? Like, so it's a win-win. Like you got out of your comfort zone, you did something that was hard, and then you realized, oh, well, this isn't that bad. I can reach out to 1,000 more people if I want to.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing too is just having a team around you. Like I have you, Asaf, my wife, all of these different people that are behind me and like are propelling me forward.
Yeah, and that's that's so much of what it's about. And I'm glad you're speaking to this because A, there's enough to go around. B, we don't have to be in competition with each other. C, I believe that the more I help more people get to where they want to go, the more the universe is going to reward me and what I'm trying to do. And I don't think anybody's going to convince me of anything any different just because of the opportunity that's been presented to me because that has been my approach. Would you say that that is shaping up for you as well? It's like it's just kind of mind-blowing how that all works, right?
It is very mind-blowing. Yeah, I will agree.
Because I remember our first conversation and I told you about the opportunities through networking and just talking to people. And you kind of gave me a sideways look like this dude's not fucking serious, right? And then you go put that into action. And what did you learn?
You had the more people that you connect with, the better. It doesn't even, you could have nothing in common. Literally, you could have nothing in common, but I can promise you that they're going to learn something from you and you're going to learn something from them.
Every single time. Yes,
Every
sir.
time.
Yeah.
Just like for everyone that's listening, like me and Adam, the first time we met, I was like, this dude is a psycho. Like I don't, none of what he's saying makes any sense to me, and then I put into practice what he said because if you have an open mind and try what people offer you, then you might be surprised. And I was surprised. I was like, I need to meet with this guy again. Like I didn't believe anything that he was saying about, especially the mental health side of stuff. Cause I'm kind of the guy that's just like, suck it up and be a man. And I was tired of feeling the way that I was feeling. So I took a step forward to better myself. And now look at us, I think we're very good friends because of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, always, dude, without a doubt. You give me chills by saying what you said, man, because I do know that people think that I'm crazy sometimes, because of the things that, the alternative healing methods that I try to give people to get out of their own ways, because I know what has worked for me over just the last year, just a little over a year. So, you know, I appreciate you saying that. And this isn't about me. This is actually about you. And I think you're like you're perfect to be on the show because you're so early on, but you've learned so much and taken so much action just in a couple of months from our first meeting. And I won't forget that first meeting with you either, because I do remember the way you were looking at me, maybe in through a computer screen, but you were giving me a look like, I don't ever want to talk to this dude again.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember because I was like, this dude is full of shit, like I just, and then I needed help. So I was like, I'm just going to try it. Whatever. I'm just going to try it. And look where it's led me to being way more present in everyday life and not, having these crippling, horrible thoughts about myself.
Yeah, dude. So good, man. Looking forward, what are your goals and aspirations for the next few years for Country Carves? Where do you see it going, and where would you like it to be? Have you set some measurable goals for yourself?
Yeah. So next Christmas, I want to have 100 products on my website. That's a very lofty goal, but knowing how I am, I'm gonna get there. Even if it takes to the last second. Um, and then I haven't set long term goals, but just day to day right now is doing something beneficial for Country Carves, whether that's editing a video for Instagram or engraving a couple new things or something like that. That's what I'm doing right now, and I need to. I want to make like a vision board or something and do like a Country Carves version of like where do I want to see my business in 5 years from now?
I
Because right now,
strongly suggest you do that. I think that that will be so powerful for you, man. I have my whiteboard back there with some measurable goals on it so that I can see it every day when I walk into my office. And I haven't updated it in a while, and I'm crushing my goals because they're up there.
nice.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, it
I
just,
do need to write down my goals. I need to do that for sure.
and maybe that doesn't work for everybody, but for me, I don't even know what it is. It's just like I see it every day, and it's like, okay, I can measure progress. I have 100 episodes that I want to get recorded in before May 1st, right? Because I released on May 1st, and I think it still says 100, but like I need to cut it in half now at this point because I just been heavy grinding. I wanted to be a guest on 25 in a year. That I've blown out of the water already. Like I think I only have like 3 more to finish to hit that goal, and then kind of the other ones that are out of my control. I mean, I can do things that control them, but like number of downloads, like I don't have like there's the only thing I can do is promote myself harder. And I struggle with that because I don't want to promote myself, which is weird, right? Like you're building a personal brand, Adam. Why the fuck don't you want to promote yourself? And it's like, because it just feels egotistical and just not me, but like also that's how the game is played. And so I love that you're speaking to this stuff because this is all, dude, you've done this in 3 months. 3 months you've learned all of this. And I think it's a testament to how, if you get out of your own way, you open your mind to advice that may seem a little crazy and then take action, you can do it too. Anybody
Yo,
can do
for
it.
sure. Anybody, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart because I started at ground zero of knowledge and I still don't know everything. I'm still probably only, know 20% of the whole business world, but anybody can do it. Seriously.
And would you say that like that unfamiliar, like not knowing feeling kind of sucks in the beginning, right? Like it's terrifying, it's scary, it makes you sick at your stomach, it makes you kind of not want to do it. But for me anyway, and hopefully you'll concur with this, but as time went on and I started seeing results and started seeing the fruits of the labor that I put in, I started looking forward to the grind and started like I enjoy this now. Like, this is fun, kind of.
Yeah. I remember vividly sending you a message, or it was a call one day or something. And I was like, I just feel like I wake up every day and I want to do something, but I don't know what to do. I don't know. And now that I've gotten past that, I'm like, oh, wow, this is like, it's, I don't know, it's like beautiful to see something like, you know, oh, I got a sale today. 3 months ago, I would have been over the moon, but now I'm just kind of like, okay, yeah,
How can I
let's
get
move on.
another one? Yeah.
How
How
can
can
I,
I,
yeah,
what did I do? What actions did I take that led to this sale? And how do I get more? Right.
exactly.
And it becomes a
It's
game.
crazy how
It
your
becomes a
mind
game.
changes. Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah. And you want to win that game. Dude, wrapping up here, man. Let's talk about what advice would you give to veterans who are transitioning out right now? Particularly because, transition, I think, is, I don't know, some people talk about it as, it's a never ending thing. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think you get to a point where you have completely transitioned out. You know who you are without the military, and what your purpose is beyond the military, your identity and all of that shit. So what advice would you give?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I would say keep in touch with the people that you really care about speaking to. That's a big one for me. I'm very friend and family oriented, so that's a huge part of me. And don't be afraid to meet new people either. Like just because they're not a military or a veteran doesn't mean they can't be your friend or your best friend eventually. Don't be afraid to meet new people, and the suck will end. The suck will end eventually. That first 6 months is not fun. It feels like you're in a foreign world almost going into the civilian world, especially if you joined at 18 as well. But I would say I just want to talk a little bit more. If you have quit from any special program, you can forgive yourself and it's okay. It just wasn't meant for you. It doesn't make you any less of a man than anybody else. And if anybody wants to talk about it, I'm right here. I was in that special program for a long time, and I would love to, talk to you.
Yeah, your past doesn't have to define you. It does not have to define you. You can forgive yourself, like Lawson just said, but moreover, you can learn a lesson from that. You can learn some things about yourself and really explore why it was that you quit, and learn from it and adapt that to your life and your healing journey, and you'll get over that, and have some grace on yourself for that, right?
Yeah, very true.
Dude,
And
I love it.
you can leverage those feelings that you have every day, pour it into something. I pour mine into my business. Like I quit one thing, I'm not going to quit this though. I'm dead set on making this work.
and
And
and it's that attitude that will get you everything you want and more. It's just the consistency to show up and do that thing every single day, approaching it with a open mind and a learning mindset. Like, not every day is going to be perfect, but as long as you show up every day, it incremental progress, right? Like, showing up every day for Country Carves, the only way that can end is in success. Oh, awesome, man. Awesome. How can everybody connect with you and follow your journey? I know you're on LinkedIn. I love seeing you're on day 29 right now, I
yep,
think. Yeah.
yep. Yeah, so LinkedIn is a little different from my other social medias. I'm basically just keeping like a living journal of kind of how I'm feeling on whatever day. And, if I learn something business oriented, I'll put it on there. Or if I'm just like, have a good weekend, I'll put it on there too. And Country Carves is spelled with a K on both. So it's country with a K and carbs with a K. And then Instagram is also just Country Carves, and Facebook is Country Carves as well. And then my website, www.countrycarves.com. And you can email me or anything like that off there.
Dude, I love it. What is one thing that you hope everybody takes away from your episode here today?
Prioritize your mental health just as much as you prioritize your physical health. That's the biggest thing that I can say.
Perfect, dude. Lawson, man, thank you so much for being here on a Saturday morning. I really appreciate you, dude. I love you to death, and I'm super proud of you, man. Everybody, help us get to 1 million downloads by May 9th, 2025, the day I turn 40. It's a lofty goal, but if there's one community on the planet that can do that, it's the veteran community. Let's save some lives. Also, in addition to that, if you want to get involved in QRF Up, the nonprofit that I now am a director of recruiting for, please reach out to me. We need responders to help save veteran lives and keep them out of jail when they're going through crisis. It's a cause I really believe is going to revolutionize mental health care for veterans and first responders. So reach out to me for that. Also, join the Stronghold, man. Join the Stronghold. It's, by the time this episode's out, it's been launched for a good while, but it's a place for you to come and meet with people like Lawson and get advice from me, and dump whatever you're going through, judgment free, not a toxic place like Facebook groups. And beyond that, we'll build it into whatever you need it to be. I need you guys to come in and tell me what you want in there and what you'd like to see. So get on board with that. And ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Lawson Latimer from Country Carves. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week, guys.
See ya.
That's our show, and I'm truly thankful you've joined us at the Strategic Veteran. If our conversation today sparked curiosity, or if you're ready to elevate your game, I'm here to help. Visit thestrategicveteran.com for exclusive show notes and resources, or to book a coaching session directly with me. Take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and share your review. Your support makes all the difference. For more insights and daily strategies, let's connect on LinkedIn and keep the conversation going. Remember, this isn't just a podcast, it's your strategic advantage in action. Until our next rendezvous, stay bold and continue the mission.